Hey, Mia,
Yeah,
I'll need screen sharing privilege if I don't already have it.
okay, you should be all set.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're ready to go? Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the Affordable Housing Committee meeting on May 4th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. This will be a virtual meeting convened via remote participation under the governor's orders due to the COVID-19 virus with real-time public access provided by Orleans Channel 18. All votes and attendance will be done by roll call. So attending this afternoon, Nancy Wren, chairperson. Shelley Dawson,
Here.
Kate here, Nancy James,
Here.
Bill Stockard,
Here.
Andrea Reed, Marsha Algier, and
Here.
George Reservi.
Yes.
Okay. A little bit of a presentation before we start today. So I'll just the focus of today's meeting is
Nancy, I think something's scraping against your mic or something. I don't know. Do you have papers next to your mic?
I do. So, I don't know where my mic is. Okay, ready? Thank you. The focus of today's meeting is twofold. First, we need to finalize the Affordable Housing Committee's support of Article 17, the Community Preservation Committee's bonding of $2 million toward the Orleans Cape Cod 5 building project by the developer Penrose. And secondly, to share a PowerPoint prepared by Marsha, our town housing coordinator. As a committee, we have created materials to support this excellent investment, which addresses the housing study's documented need for affordable rentals in Orleans. Following the PowerPoint, we will confirm our next steps leading up to town meeting on May 22nd. And some good news to share, Provincetown's town meeting just voted $20,000 as its regional support for the Cape Cod 5 project. We're very happy to hear that. I wanted to say that I respect the hard work and consensus of our committee in developing a plan and materials. Since our last meeting in April, two issues need to be updated for our consideration. The first one is regarding the flyer that we worked on. Last week, Andrea was nice enough to convene a small group to review the flyer with a consultant. He made several edits for emphasis, and this group came up with a consensus. The flyer you received with today's meeting materials is an updated version than the one we had before, and I would like to get your feedback before it is finally published and distributed. Unfortunately, Fran could not attend the meeting today, but she has made the document changes that we are going to be reviewing. The second thing I wanted to say was at the Orleans Citizens Forum meeting, which was very well received last night on enterprise funds, they advertised next week's meeting about the economic development warrant articles, which included Governor Prince, the economic consultant, and a community center feasibility study. I was a little bit surprised when Penrose was added into the topic list. Over the past few months, the Affordable Housing Committee, Select Board, and Affordable Housing Trust Board have talked many times about viewing this as a separate item. It seems that it's difficult to do so, and I thought I should just make everyone aware. The term affordable housing is currently being connected to three diverse projects on people's minds in Orleans. Please allow me to clarify this a little bit. The first one is the Orleans Cape Cod 5 Penrose. It's using a private developer who is subject to town permitting, hearings, and guidelines, and is requesting a community commitment for a proposed 7% subsidy from the Community Preservation Committee funds. The vote on Article 17 is to approve the CPC's decision to bond its funds. Number two, Governor Prince is a property that is of interest to the town for future use, and although many ideas have been suggested, nothing has been decided, and community planning and dialogue will be the first steps to envision its future. The vote on Article 23 is only to acquire and secure the property. 107 Main Street is funded by the town's Affordable Housing Trust Board, and an RFP has been created with much community input. There is no town vote required for this. As spokespersons for affordable housing in Orleans, we take seriously the careful analysis of housing needs, the importance of good planning and site choice, and the open dialogue that informs all these decisions. Thank you for your time. Okay. As we go through our agenda, some of the things that I commented on will probably be coming up in further discussion. So I just sort of set the scene for our day of Penrose, okay? So if you have some comments regarding that, make a note, please, after Marcia's presentation. So I'll turn it over to Marcia, who's going to show us what we know about Penrose.
Okay. As we discussed at our last committee meeting, this presentation summarizes the project going to annual town meeting, warrant article number 17, requesting Community Preservation Committee funding for affordable housing to be constructed at the site of the former Orleans Cape Cod 5 Operations Center on West Road by Penrose, the purchaser of the property and developer of the project. Specifically, this presentation really features the excellent flyer produced by the committee and to be distributed to the public perhaps before and certainly at the town meeting on May 22nd. The presentation is not meant to be a comprehensive discussion of the project, but instead summarizes the major issues the committee wishes to highlight. It also makes sure that all committee members are well familiar with the flyer in case you are asked about what's contained in it. Okay, so first slide. Next slide, location, just to review the location of the project. Here's a location map. The site is outlined in yellow next to Skagit Corners Shopping Center. The site backs onto Route 6 and fronts on West Road. It is conveniently located close to Route 6A, which takes people the short distance to downtown Orleans. And across 6A from a motel, the power substation, Agway, and down Lots Hollow Road to the town transfer station. Next slide. Here's a picture of the current building, which is an original 1970s building and a 1990s addition. Next slide. And here's the flyer, and don't worry if you can't read it, I'll go into the details of it, but the flyer is chock full of information. This is the front of the flyer with the headline, Why Affordable Housing at Orleans Cape Cod 5, Article 17. There's a lot of information on the page and hard to see it all in this slide. So I've pulled out the different sections in the following slides, and the topics are what, who, and why. Next slide. Okay, first, what? So we're talking about 62 affordable and workforce 1, 2, and 3 bedroom rental apartment homes. 52 are reserved for people with income less than or equal to 80% of the area median income. That's the Barnstable County area median income. 10 are for people with incomes between the 80% and 120% of area median income. So that's who's going to, that's what is being built at the project. I won't go through all the amenities, but there's significant green spaces, walking paths, playground, laundry, club room, and various kinds of site amenities. Very importantly, Penrose will ensure on-site management and 24-hour emergency services for property management. Penrose is a well-respected and experienced rental housing management for leasing, support services, and maintenance. Next. Who? So the committee is particularly pleased that the project will support a range of the kinds of households that we would like to have in Arlington and, sorry, I keep saying Arlington, have in Orleans and like to keep here in Orleans. First, there's family housing for young families, people who may have grown up here, want to stay here, but maybe have trouble meeting the costs of housing, as well as new families who want to settle here, who may be able to get jobs here. Definitely, it does accommodate through its workforce housing working people, people who already work here or who wish to live closer to work, people who may be seeking jobs here or planning to start a new business, as well as the significant need we have for seniors. And there may be seniors looking to downsize and looking for smaller living quarters who may be unable to continue in their current single family homes and yet want to stay in Orleans. Next. Why? Why are we supporting this project? This definitely meets Arlington's housing needs, or a part of how Arlington's housing needs is documented in the housing study of 2017, and the town's goal of creating 100 affordable homes by 2028, 85 of which are to be rental. It makes good use of an existing building, the old Cape Cod 5 office building. It adds an addition and builds 8 new townhomes. And it's situated in a neighborhood of already existing multifamily dwellings. And it's a very good location, not far from downtown, where development is encouraged and now possible due to the sewering of the village center and downtown area. Within easy walking distance to shopping at the Skaket Corner Shopping Center, services, employment, transportation, and schools. Next. This is a site plan of the planned development. And again, we won't go into any details here, but you see at the bottom, the existing building and the multi-story building. And then at the top, or center to the top, are the new townhouses to be built for larger apartments. There's a whole list of the amenities on the site, as well as even landscaping elements that is to be installed. Next. Importantly, this request and the granting of the request does not impact the tax rate here in Orleans. Penrose, the developer, will use grants, loans, and low-income housing tax credits to finance what is approximately $27 million, which it will be the total cost of the development. There is no impact on the tax rate, as the allocation is part of the Orleans Community Preservation Committee's allocation of our already existing 3% surtax. Penrose has applied for a $2 million subsidy from Orleans, which CPC would bond over 20 years for an annual debt service of approximately $110,000 a year. Next. Here's a picture of the renovated multi-story building, as well as an example of the townhouses to be built on part of the site. Next. Again, to review the sources of funding, and one of the reasons that this is an excellent project is the amount of funding that it leverages to meet the full cost of $27,355,000. Only 7% is requested from Orleans Community Preservation Act funding, 3% from other Community Preservation Act funding, and Nancy just referred to Provincetown agreeing to contribute. I'm sorry, 7% from Orleans CPA and then 3% from other CPAs in other towns. A good part of the cost comes from federal tax credits, which is the typical way that major housing projects are financed in this country. 26% from state tax credits, as well as 15% from Penrose getting a private mortgage, and 15% from various state housing funds. Next. So the flyer also on the back summarizes the need for affordable housing and relates the project to Orleans planning over the last 25 years, to ongoing population changes on the Cape and in Orleans, and to land use challenges. And then finally, we'll get to the question of who qualifies for the housing. Next. So I won't go into the details here, but if you will familiarize yourself with the relationship to the years of planning that we've been involved with to take us closer to Orleans' vision of a rural seaside community of open spaces with a vibrant, walkable downtown and housing and healthy local businesses. And specifically, the work that has been done to encourage development in downtown implementing the sewers, which allows an increased density in zoning to allow for controlled development of housing and businesses. And then again, the well-known changes in the population on the Cape and in Orleans, the increasing age of our population, the problem that many people talk about, the young people needing to leave because they can't afford to live in Orleans, as well as the difficulty with the seasonal economy in terms of finding year-round housing and jobs. Next. And finally, the land use challenges that this would address. Approximately 80% of residences are single-family homes, but that makes it difficult to accommodate younger families and rental persons. Part-time residents, 52% of Orleans homes are seasonal and are used or rented seasonally, making it difficult to find year-round homes. And then, of course, even recently with the pandemic, the very hot real estate market, which has made short-term rental markets even more lucrative, which dramatically increases housing costs and further challenges working people to find homes that they can afford here in Orleans. Okay, and then this chart is a very interesting chart, but it can be kind of confusing. So in terms of explaining it to people, on the left, we see the household, forward more. Yeah, on the left, we see the household incomes that correspond to percentages of area median income, AMI, those that will qualify for units at the project up to 100%, 120% of AMI, which is $120,540. The center column actually represents the household incomes of current residents of Orleans. So let me go to the next slide to explain it further as to who would qualify. So who would be served? Overall, people making between, or households making between $29,100, which would be the minimum income for a one bedroom at 60% of area median income, up to $120,540, which would be the maximum income for a three-bedroom apartment at 120% of area median income. And that's because the income limits vary by the size of the household, which also vary by the number of bedrooms in the units. So the affordable units, the ones that are subsidized by the tax credit and by the various requests that the developer has made, are for households earning between $29,000 and $60,270. Workforce units are for a slightly higher income households earning up to the $120,000 amount, the 120% of area median income in a three-bedroom unit. So the following bullets describe what the one-bedroom, two-bedroom, and three-bedroom incomes are. So I won't go into those in detail, but just to explain to people that the incomes vary according to the size of the household and therefore the number of bedrooms in which the households would be located. And the last two bullets refer to the comparison with current Orleans households' incomes. So at this point, 75% of Orleans households earn less than $125,000 a year. So the vast majority of those would qualify for at least the workforce housing, which has a maximum income of $120,000. And about 40% of the Orleans household would earn less than the $60,000 amount and therefore would qualify for the affordable housing, which is at or below 60% of area median income. So I think that makes clear that there's a lot of people who could benefit from this project. And last slide, basically emphasizing who is eligible for the subsidies for affordable housing. The Affordable Housing Trust can provide development subsidies for people whose household income is at or below 80% of the area median income. And the Community Preservation Committee can provide subsidies for people with household incomes at or below 100% of area median income. And again, nearly half of Orleans year-round households would qualify on the basis of income. So examples of the people who qualify, if you look at prevailing wages these days, some town employees, some firefighters might qualify, postal workers, administrative assistants in offices, retail workers, restaurant staff, childcare workers and home health aides, landscapers, and tradespeople. So many of the folks on whom we rely for businesses and for services in the town could qualify for subsidies here at Penrose. So in all, it is to serve people that we would like to attract to or keep in our community. And for that reason, the Affordable Housing Committee would support the Penrose project at Cape Cod 5. So that concludes the presentation on Penrose. Again, it's not meant to be an exhaustive discussion of the project, but more of the points that we might want to raise to our neighbors and to others at the town meeting in terms of advocating for why that warrant article number 17 should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. That was wonderful. Any comments about that at the moment, or I think she really captured all the work everybody's been doing, so.
Nancy,
George.
I don't know how you're going to use this, but this seems like the perfect slideshow to put on Channel 18 between programs, so it can just scroll and run through. If there's enough slow pace to it, people could read the whole thing as they go.
That'd be great. What do you think about that, everybody?
Okay.
I'd also like to see it on the website, our affordable housing website, if that's possible.
Nancy, I know you could send it to Sarah and she would post it. She can add it to your page.
Yeah, I'll do that when I try to get onto Channel 18 too.
Okay,
Can I ask just some layout questions? Is that okay, Nancy? Just strictly layout on that slideshow?
is it on the flyer or is it on the whole thing?
No, it's on the slides, just small technical things.
Okay. Sure.
Marcia, on the page where the flyer is transposed to the slideshow, there's a bar missing dividing the graph. The first bar on the left-hand side, early in the slideshow. I think it's page 3. There, right there, between what and who?
Oh, you're right. I just took actually, it's supposed to be a photographic pictures. I'm not sure what happened.
Just if you're gonna put it up there.
Good catch. I was listening to the content. I wasn't really looking at that. I'm glad you were looking at the.
But funny, when I printed it, it shows up.
Well, it shows up later in the slideshow where you've got the whole thing.
Strange. Okay.
The other thing is that on that page too, when Fran redid this flyer, that's the townhouse picture is not balanced with the other picture. I don't know why, because it was in the original. So I don't know if we can get that fixed on the flyer before we actually get it printed, because it looks like it's less important than the other. They're equally important. So the balance of those, do you see what I'm saying on the bottom?
Yes. Yes.
Good size.
That used to
I
be
didn't
the same
know-
size, and I don't know why it isn't now, but I think we need to correct that before we put it up or we print anything.
Yeah, and let's look at this. Let me look at the flyer itself, because part of this could be when I exported it to the PowerPoint. So I don't know what was the transposition problem versus what's in the slide, the
Right.
flyer itself.
And I
And
wanted
then
sorry.
there's another, and it may not be a typo. It went so fast, I wasn't sure. But on the page with the financial graph, you know, that you did so beautifully towards the end, there was a figure under CPC
Yeah.
funds. Maybe I just couldn't see it. No, you were there. You were back, the colored one that has
Okay.
that one.
Yeah,
I just wanted to check something that looked like 700,000.
Yeah, other CPA funds.
Great. That's the other towns. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it. I'm all set. Those were the only physical things.
Okay, I'll double check
Yeah.
the flyer.
thank you. Anybody else, any comments on that presentation before we move on to something else? I wanted to talk a minute about that flyer too, just so that everybody's on the same page with this, what changes were actually put into the flyer. You might have already figured out yourself if you compared, but if not, I think we should just do it as a group, okay? We changed the title of it on the side, the Penrose side, to match what it says in the warrant. That's how it's called, the Orleans Cape Cod 5 in the warrant. So try to make that. And also, depending on which side of the flyer you open first, they both have, what one says, why affordable housing in Orleans now, and the other one says why affordable housing at Orleans Cape Cod 5. So either one has a good question. One of the recommendations from the little subgroup that looked at this was to add Article 17 underneath it so people would know what we were talking about. And the only other change, aside from the fact that the pictures are different on the bottom, is that we moved the information that was in between the pictures to a more prominent place in the middle to describe the financing and the tax rate pieces. So I think no words are actually, I don't think were actually changed too much, except for underlining, putting the tax rate in there, no impact on the tax rate, and one other word that I think was fixed. So do you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything you'd like to say? Because today is the day. What an agreeable committee. Nothing?
Oh, no, it looks great. The changes look great. I mean, the whole flyer looks really good. Great job by the whole subgroup. Yeah. I like especially the last that you mentioned, that the financing part of it, and highlighting the fact that no income impact on a tax rate. That is so important. But overall, no, I think it looks great.
All the things in the boxes were not changed. The things that much, the who, what, whys, and all those, but nothing was changed in any of those. So I hope it's clearer and compelling and speaks to the topic that we're on. So I think if we could get those pictures straightened out, that would be the only thing I would like to see. So you
Are
think,
we
Marcy,
printing,
what
are we printing this in color or black and white?
color? Yes.
Good. Yeah.
I assume so. We have money to do it in color. I don't think I'd like to see it in black and white.
Right.
But-
Well, it'll obviously make the chart much more
Right.
readable, and that's important. So
Right.
Okay, any other comments on that? So we are done with the.
Nancy, do you want me to try to figure that out? I mean, as I look at the printed flyer, the lines are all there, but the pictures at the bottom are of different sizes. I didn't work on the original flyer, so I don't know if Fran should do it or you want me to do it.
I think between you and Fran, you can figure it out. I think because we sent one copy and I worked on it, then she worked on it and she wanted to finish it. So I believe that she can hopefully fix that and not change anything else by fixing that. But I don't see it as she has the original document. So if you could do that before we print it.
Okay.
Then the question is, where do we put this flyer? Because now we have parts of it on, we'll have it on channel 18. Hopefully we'll have it on our website. We'll have the presentation, which includes all of this flyer, but do we want to have the flyer anyplace else? And do we want to put it out prior to town meeting anyway? The more I work on it, the more I like it. And I feel like there's so much content in it that it's going to be okay for town meeting, but it'd be better if some people read it ahead of time too, because it's not a 3-point blurb that people are going to just read quickly before town meeting. So I'd like to see it get out a little bit more. And that's sort of the distribution piece that we haven't really talked about very much, that Nancy and I are supposed to be working on. So I think we need to talk about that a little bit today. I am open for discussion.
Is a piece like this ever sent to every household in the town? Is that something that's ever done?
No, I think we had decided primarily at another meeting that we weren't going to do that because I think there was a reason why, but we decided not to do it to every town. But we can put it in places where people pick things up, I think. No? Are we allowed to put it in to, it just explains Article 17, doesn't say vote for Article 17. We're hoping that that's what will happen, right, George?
Well, it's definitely an advocacy piece.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Right.
Just to respond to Nancy, a townwide mailer is about $3,000 with a mail merge and something of this size to get out. And of course, you'd have to reorient it so you can get some blank paper on somewhere to print the addresses. So you change it into an 11 by 17, but that's been done in town, but only rarely for the biggest of projects. Move the decimal a couple places and you'd be mailing it out to everybody.
Got it. Thanks.
So what's the strategy for putting it anywhere else?
So people hand things out at the transfer station. I think there's a mixed bag of the reaction residents have to those kinds of mixed bag at the transfer station. Got it? Yep.
Some of it just ends up in the trash.
We talked about that last time, and I think we nixed that idea too. Yeah. Just, I don't know.
Yeah, this project, this article, I think is already in the 90% plus approval rating. That is my sense of it. I love the idea of handing out information on the way in for voters to read, because there is surprising amount of downtime during the town meeting where people peruse information for upcoming articles.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best place. Unfortunately, when you start thinking about where else to put this, of course, with the continuing COVID impact, I mean, obviously, in better days, you could put a stack of these in town hall. People go there for, all kinds of business and they pick things up, but, that doesn't work with town hall closed. So we talked a little bit too about, a lot of times you see people handing things out at the post office, and I don't think that's a good idea either. I agree with George. I think it's probably has a very, very high chance of passing, and I also agree that people get to town meeting early. They want to get the seat they want to get. They'll have time to look over things. So if nothing else, it gives them something to look at. They may already have their mind made up, but it is such an informative piece. I think it will attract people, but I think it's difficult to come up with where else could we put it, because we just don't have those access areas.
Andrea?
I'm saying the town George has an incredibly vibrant network, although you may undersell it, George, that got those 800 responses. We have electronic capacity. If the file is good electronically, I would be happy to send it out. I've got a 700 plus person database. You've got other organizations that could insert it into their newsletter if asked nicely, Facebook pages that could share it. If you did want to distribute it without printing it, it's up to you, but I think you have an alternative.
Shelley, did you have something to say?
I think printing is important, that we definitely need to do that. I was just wondering if there were other places that the warrant is available, and if we could put it out where the warrant is also available. So people picking up the one would also pick up the other, theoretically at least. I know I picked mine up at Town Hall the other day when I mailed my tax bill or put my tax bill into the box, but I don't know if we're doing them at post offices and any place else under COVID. So it was just a question.
I don't know.
I haven't seen it at post office. I think we used to.
Yeah, that's what I'm remembering.
I even before COVID, I don't know whether they stopped doing that or not, but there again, I don't think we'd be allowed to put a stack of papers any place like that. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's a good point.
Question, it just occurred to me, George is right, and this is an advocacy piece. I think it's very clearly a pro piece, but I realize that nowhere here is it say produced by the Affordable Housing Committee or any attribution, because I would think somebody says, okay, who did this?
Yeah, who did this? Penrose do this? Yeah.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, right. So you might want to put something on the bottom somewhere.
I think that's an excellent point. That's an
Mhm.
excellent
And
point.
they might even say, did public money go into this?
Right. right.
I don't know what to say about that.
Well, we do
Maybe.
have money assigned to us for that or allocated to us for that. But I think the idea of, where did this come from? I mean, because it is a pro piece. I mean, let's face it. And people will say, well, why are they allowing Penrose to hand this out? Yeah.
So if I can build on that, there are some limitations on what the town can do to tell people how to vote.
Right.
You'll see that the select board is very careful with its material. It does not put out any material that says vote yes on two. They won't do it, but this can be handed out. This is informational. This describes the purposes and the background and why this makes sense for the town. It does not tell you people to vote yes on 17. So I think it's perfectly acceptable to distribute any way you find reasonable. I was just looking at your the list that's in the later part of the agenda, and perhaps the groups that are listed here, which are primarily or all private groups, you could just send the finished version to them and ask to distribute to their people. Yeah, this is a pretty robust set of recipients. I might skip the condo and neighborhood associations necessarily, just because it's going to be hard to identify all of them, and because they're not registered necessarily with the town. And there's one condo association that some people have expressed difficulty with the project. Yes.
But George, you don't think we need to put at the bottom produced by Affordable Housing Committee?
Oh, absolutely. I think you do. I like that.
Yeah, we
On
have
both sides if you can. Yeah.
On both sides, yes, that would be great. We probably should date it to May 2021. You don't think so? Well, maybe not. Maybe just 2021 would be nice, just so we know. Okay. I think we should put 2021 on it.
Okay.
Because I think when things fly around, they get lost. And I'm big about dates. You don't have to put May. Let's just put 2021. Produced by Affordable Housing Committee, 2021. Yes?
I think you could put May because some of it may be reused, with future projects. I mean, some of the basic stuff on the backside. So it would be good to know which version you were looking at going forward. Could just put five,
May
21.
2021. Okay.
This makes me wonder if there should be a contact on the sheet if somebody has a question.
And
If
who
you
would
have a
like to
question
receive
about
this?
this.
Yeah. Well,
You
they
wanna-
can find the list of people on the Affordable Housing Committee, so that would be good.
Yeah, and if the majority of these are going to be handed out the day of,
We won't be home, so.
right? There's nobody
Yeah.
they can ask at town meeting.
I'll be there.
So I
Okay.
think, yeah.
What about referring them to your webpage? Town, that would be good, right? They want to learn more about affordable housing in Orleans?
Right, they could do that when they're sitting at the meeting, if they wanted to. But I mean, sort of going back to the question of how widely do we want to distribute this? If people are feeling very positive about it anyway, I feel like that's an unresolved question. I like the idea of handing it out at the meeting when people are really thinking about it and they have time, and they do have time to, but there was a suggestion, I think it was at another meeting, that that maybe we might oversell this, or I don't know. And I don't know what the downside would be of that, but just something else to think about.
Okay, let's get some consensus here. We have agreed to take credit for it. We've agreed to put it on Channel 18 if that's possible. We've agreed to put it on our website. We've agreed to pass it out at town meeting. That's quite a lot of things, I think. And we could, send it to a few of those people, groups on that list. We don't have to send it to that was a comprehensive list, Jojo. We could choose a few to share with it. And I think the most important thing is that we should all have some in our, before the town meeting. And if we connect with people and have a conversation, that we can use it as our support piece. As
Mm.
opposed to, if we have a neighbor who is really concerned about something and you'd like to talk more about it, you would have a piece to share. I think that would be like one-on-one, something that you could do. Because I think, aren't we final in the end, the people who are trying to get this word out? So you think you could pass it out to a friend of yours who had some questions and you said, maybe you'd like to learn more about it? Yes.
Absolutely. I feel like I could do that. I think it's a really great piece. And it's got so much information on just two sides of a page. It's great.
But that's the opposite of a cold call, which I don't think we should do cold calling or just random sending. I think we should respond to somebody's questions when they sort of arise. That makes sense?
Mhm.
Yes, George? No, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Anything more on the flyer then?
Well, so we're gonna make, what, 500 copies of this? And is somebody gonna be where handing them out at town meeting?
Yes, who would like to do that? Masha, you're making the 500 color copies, correct? Once we get
Right,
that finished. I would be glad to do that.
I could do it.
Bill would be glad to do that.
Know how many entrances they're gonna have.
I don't, where are
I
we?
imagine it's gonna be rather limited, but, there is a
Mm.
rush. You need people on two sides as people are coming in.
Right.
Eldridge
at
Field, is
least
that
two.
where it is?
Yeah.
Shelley will do it.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do it.
Yeah, I would too. I would be happy to do that.
All right, since you guys are the 4 people that came today, that's our job.
Mhm.
All right,
So I need to get copies to you guys.
right.
So. we'll
Or
just
you can
keep
get them
them-
to me and I'll get them to everybody else. You don't have to do that too, Marcia. Why don't, when they get printed, call me and I'll connect with these people and give them their flyers.
Okay, okay.
There's no
So I'm
need.
printing 500 copies.
What time, do you think, what time are they gonna like open the gates or whatever, Andrea? Do we know that? I mean, what time should we be there? We should know that in advance and make sure we are there.
Mute. I think that it opens at 9 for the meeting to start at 10. That
Okay.
was in our packet, the last I
Okay.
heard.
Down to 10, so probably, yes. So
Okay.
be there at 9 o'clock. Okay. And if we want to have any other copies for any other needs for anybody to share anything with anybody, we can get something electronic. I guess by the time when you fix this finally, you need to send it to make sure that we got a good electronic copy that we can send to somebody if it's necessary. I think we all agree that we do not need to plaster the town with these and people, but if you find a group that you might like to send it to, then I think that would be, you could let Nancy or myself know that you want it sent to that group. I would prefer not to have everybody sending it to different groups because then we won't know who got it, I suppose. So, but I'm thinking we're not going to send out a whole lot. Okay. I think that's it on the flyers. Okay. Second piece, so the second part of our agenda was that we're already doing additional communication items for Penrose. So I think we just did that. Is there, and the only other thing that was left hanging is a possible letter to the editor that I was going to write, which I was going to run by, and Bill Stockard will agree to sign it with me so that we can, it'll be from chair and vice chair of the Affordable Housing Committee. It has not been approved as such, but it will be approved soon if we think we still want to do that.
I
And the
think
let-
so. Yeah.
And the letter that I was doing is not detailed like our flyer. It is more, main points. It's just more, just to reinforce the main points. I don't think it needs to be an opinion piece, a commentary. We talked about that, getting that in there, but the more I listen to everybody and rework the situation, I feel like shorter is better and a letter is probably better than a, in my view, piece. What do you think, George?
I think time is of the essence because you get to a few days before town meeting and you won't get anything published.
So I think it should come out this week. So I'll send it to you, Bill, maybe tomorrow to look at, and to
Okay.
George to take an eye, and Marcia just to take an eye on to make sure that
Yeah,
we,
glad to be.
but I think it's more short than long. Because there's other topics that are coming up for town meeting too, and we just want to have a say on it, but we don't need to have a blast about it. So, and I think that's all we had committed to. Is that correct? Anything else hanging out there? Shelley? You?
You're muted.
Thought I'd unmuted. I just have a question about whether the letter to the editor ought to mention the fact that there are several projects coming up. Since the Governor Prince thing is going to be voted on the ballot and all of that, that maybe we should address the whole picture of what's coming up for affordable housing in the next little while instead of just the Penrose project. So I'm just asking your intention there.
Well, I felt the need to say that in the beginning of this meeting, just because, names just keep getting floated around and how the connection works, but I'm not sure I have an opinion about the letter particularly.
I understand what you're saying, Shelley, and Nancy did a great job in opening the meeting, explaining it. But I think I know there has been some concern about people putting all three together and saying, how much more do they want? Why do they need all three? And then, cherry pick which one I don't know. I'm kind of leaning toward just concentrating on this one to get this one approved. But I understand what you're saying, and it is, we certainly would hope that all three would be approved. But, my initial reaction is just let's go with the Penrose one.
And my feeling on that one is that even though I wanted to clarify those points because it's all swirling around my head right now in terms of comments people are making in different venues, but I really want, this project really fits our study. It fits the goals we had. It fits everything that we have been working on for the last 2 years. And I really want us to be committed to this and get this going. And I think by diluting it with other things, I think it just may, I don't know what it may do, but I think as our group, it stands for what we started with. It stands for the community housing study. It stands for the way it's being done, not through the town, but through a developer that we can trust. And I think all those things are really important pieces that we just need to reemphasize, that we can be trusted with this decision to support this. And that's sort of what my letter sort of says. And we can trust the CPC because they're a trusted partner. We already know that they make good decisions, okay, over years. So we're working with their trust and our trust and a need. And I think those three things together is sort of the thrust of the letter that I'm continuing to rework and rewrite, which will now be committed. But I think that's what I'm trying to explain, not the whole housing goals of our entire town, but how this project fits what we have done so far and how it will help our community. And that's sort of the way I wanted to stress it. So if I do that, then I won't mention the other two because that was sort of the thrust that I had in mind. There will be places for other things to say what I sort of said this morning before at this meeting or what Shelley is saying, but I'm not sure that that letter will be that place. Okay, Marcia?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you would say in a letter that basically is Penrose, except negative. It is not. Governor Prince may or may not. It is not only. I mean, so you'll be sort of saying what it's not, which I don't think is a really positive thing to say. So
it just fits really nicely. It's a really good project and I really want it to pass. I mean, in my gut, I want it to pass, not just because it was a good idea and we tried hard. we really need to, all of us, at least on this committee, really stand up for it and really feel that it's a good use of our planning period. And whatever comes next after that, we'll look at it in other terms. But I think this one fits the bill for where we are at this point in time. And I think that's really important to tell people. So that will be, I think that's what we will do. So hopefully I'll get that out by tomorrow to some people to look at it. Would you assume that it's best to be signed by the two of us, or do we want other people to sign, the rest of the committee to sign it? I really don't know the format or the protocol or whatever.
You know, Nancy, it's hard to vote on something the committee hasn't seen, so it would seem to me that you two could sign it as individuals and you have positions on
Okay.
the committee. It's great.
All right, perfect, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I think we're done with that number. So now we get to review the Penrose process and the template that George referred to a little bit earlier in terms of where we go from here. So Marcia, I'll give it back to you.
Okay, well, part of this is to learn from what we've done with Penrose in terms of whether or not we could come out with a procedure, with a plan, with a strategy, however you want to do it, in terms of the next time the committee wants to advocate, in this case for a particular project, but you could use much of the same approach for any variety of communication strategies you might have. So what I did is I took a lot of what Andrea had put out and tried to put in one document. She actually gave something to Nancy and me, which is a series of works. It was sort of like Excel spreadsheets, but in variety of ways, sort of work planish, but it was like 3 different documents. So I felt that what would be helpful is to put everything all in sort of one template that can then be easily adapted to whatever next communication strategy the committee might have. So that's what I attempted to do here. And I specifically made it such that if you were to do something like this, say for 107 Main, when the time came for that, you could basically feed in 107 Main instead of Penrose, and then decide what are the full array of things you would like to produce to advocate for the approval of a 107 Main. So you would look at the objectives, you would look at how you're going to organize the committee. We probably do need to talk about whether we want to form the 3 groups that we did with Andrea, that is a messaging task force, a content creation task force, and a distribution task force. I thought it was a little bit difficult what the relative responsibilities are for the messaging versus the content creation task force. So at various times I thought maybe you should combine the 2, but you can organize yourself however you want. But the point is to organize into smaller work groups that can confer and move a project along. You would then also have key talking points. And I did send you sort of the latest version that I've been trying to add to and keep up to date. So at any point in time, you have the accumulated verbiage that relate to the project, that address concerns, that describe the project, that describe the advantages of a project. So you would have key talking points, and then you would decide how to organize yourselves on the committee to produce the messaging and get it out and decide what to do vis-a-vis that. What we didn't get to, and Andrea had started it, but basically time caught up with us, was to set it out as a work plan. So once you decide how to organize and who's going to do what, you would establish what your work plan is. When is the first hearing of the ZBA? And therefore, what would you like to accomplish before then? Certainly town meeting, but there might be some intermediate milestones you would want to set so as to go to the finance committee or go to a citizen forum to talk about a subject, or to establish your own public meeting should you want to do that. So basically, this provides an outline that allows the committee to decide what your communication and engagement strategy is for whatever the project you want to undertake in terms of the public education and outreach. So I think it would just be helpful. You don't have to edit it to death, but basically, is this a useful structure and step-by-step approach so that next time you want to do this, you can pull this out and start adapting it to the next project. Does that make sense as a way to move forward, to learn from what we've done with Penrose and to move forward to the next project?
I think it's very good, and I think we've come a long way since we started this last November or something, trying to put our thoughts together. I think we've become more concise and action-oriented, and I really appreciate your work on this and everybody else's work on this. Do you have it, George?
No, Marcia, this is very sort of akin to what Ward Gory's work on the project justification for any trust fund project, which I think was sort of finished before you came on board. But it's just a night, like we have a standard template, so we always make sure that we're touching all the bases. I really like this. I'm gonna tuck this away in a prominent place so I can find it for a new project. I like it. Works.
You know, I just realized, are there any other comments on this? Does this work? Did you feel that the process was useful that we did, even though it was a little bit confusing as we got started? Did you feel that the process of messaging, we have somebody from messaging, somebody from each of the groups. Did you feel okay with the way it went once we figured out what we were doing?
I would say that the content creation people had a little bit of trouble at first because I think because of the time frame, and the messaging people were not passing on, they were working on theirs while we were trying to work on ours because of the time frame. So I think if in the future, I think having them separate is fine. If in the future, there's just a little more time to get the first two sections of the process accomplished.
Sounds good.
So
Yeah.
hopefully we won't ever have that kind of short time frame again, that we have a little more lead time.
Sure.
There was a lot of confusion about what is a message versus content.
Right.
So is there maybe, I don't know what you think, Shelley, should we combine messaging and content creation and basically have one group, do the key talking points, and then create a flyer, a few PowerPoint slides, sort of the key messaging pieces, as the distribution group tries to decide how to get the word out?
I think, and I agree with a little bit of confusion, Shelley, and I didn't realize that you were working on the content the same time that we were working on the messaging. That really for process didn't make sense that we were doing it that way. There was confusion, I think, on our part, because initially we felt that the messaging should be in bullet form, just highlighting what the messages should be or could be, and then turning those over to the content people to build upon. And as we found that as we submitted the messaging, what came back to us as suggestions pretty much looked like content. So it did create that confusion. So I think there is a role for each, but I think going forward, we need to really clearly define what is expected of each. And certainly the timeline shouldn't be that people are working on what the messaging should be or could be, while at the same time, people are already working on the content. That to me just, I didn't realize that was happening, but then that adds to explaining to me why there was some confusion. So I think going forward, I can understand, and I think it could work with separating them. And I think they do have different objectives, but I think we need to do some work on timing, expectations, and then in doing that, if it doesn't seem to work and make sense, then we could combine them.
Right, with Bill, and I think the objectives are important, and so is the timing. But I think what I liked about it was, first, it dealt with the open meeting law very neatly, which was important. But secondly, everybody had a part of it in some way of looking at it. And I think in the end, it was a good way to build consensus in our committee. So by the time we were done, we were making very small changes, not huge changes in how it all worked. So I do think I think involving everybody in a certain phase of it was very important. And I would suggest we continue to do that with some objectives and a little better timing. But it was the whole thing was a learning experience, is working with Andrea, working with each other, trying to do everything when you can't be in a room together and you can't all work together at the same time. So I think that with all those constrictions, we came out with a good product that we're proud of. And for that, I think that it worked in terms of, and we can always refine it as we go along. But congratulations to all of you and to Marcia for being the leader and the tire together and keeping us all moving. I really did appreciate all that effort. Also realized while we were talking, Marcia, that we skipped over one important thing. Who is going to speak? Our talking points, where does that come in? Our talking points for the town meeting. That was sort of a big
Right.
piece that we just both went over.
Right.
So we
If questions come up, is somebody prepared to get up and use the talking points in this flyer to say something in public about the concerns or the questions? That's right. There was a question about whether people should be prepared to do that and lined up, ready to do that.
Yes. Fran has made a message she would be willing to do that at town meeting. You know, we don't know what the questions are going to be. Every time I've gone to town meeting with an issue in my mind, I've written something to say, and I've actually never gotten up and done it, even though I was prepared and ready, because you don't know what the questions are going to be and you don't know what the direction is going to be. But I usually go with something prepared in my mind, thinking what might be an issue. So if we can all do that, I guess, but we need somebody who would say, yes, I will step up if I think it's going in the wrong, not even the wrong direction, if there's unclear information, to clarify information mostly. So, and maybe it's just going to be presented and voted on. So, and that could be just fine too. George, you're going to be available, right? And Walter North is going to be, is presenting it.
My understanding is the CPC chair will present this because it is a CPA article. You have the affirmative votes of the Select Board and Finance Committee in the warrant. So that will be iterated in some way. I would think someone's going to stand up and say, this is $2 million of taxpayer money being put into affordable housing. And there's another article that gets even worse later in the warrant. Can somebody explain to me why Orleans should be spending $5 million on affordable housing in this environment? That's the question you need a carefully worded, clear answer to. And that question deserves an answer at town meeting, of course. So let's think of the 15 horrible questions and try to come up with the answers that are factually based and help people understand what the thought process has been. It doesn't tell you who's going to do it. Yes, I'll be there. I'd be willing to stand up and juxtapose the 3 housing projects, the 2 housing projects and 1 general municipal property acquisition project, and how those fit into the scheme of Orleans' long-term future.
Okay. Do you want us to come up with 15 questions now, George?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. I do that every day as we get toward town meeting.
Yeah, and I think we all will be doing that a little bit in terms of, but who is willing to stand up and respond if necessary? Any of you?
I am not, but I would certainly nominate Fran, especially since she's willing, because I think she expresses herself very, very well. And she also seems to retain the information that she could probably pull it out to answer a question if she had to.
Okay, I'll let her know that.
And Nancy, where it's advocacy, I don't think you should ask Marcia or me to advocate for a particular opinion. But if it's answering questions and describing what has been studied, what's been looked at, what are the goals and how this meets them, how we solve the problem, those are the kind of things that I'd be glad to do. And I'm sure Marcia has no problem speaking about these kinds of things at all.
Okay.
Is Katie Wibby still officially on our committee?
Yes, I didn't hear from her today, however.
Yeah, Because she might be another person that would be good to have prepared if she was willing to speak. Again, she represents, she kind of covers both bases, the trust and the committee, but she has some background knowledge if that's important
Okay.
as far as an answer.
All right. Well, you can think more about it too, I suppose. We have 2 people right now, so that's good. And George is a backup person. I think that will be fine. Okay. So just have that running around in your head of different things. Plus also be available to people in the town who ask a question, because you all have the background. You don't want to stand up and speak at town meeting, but you all have the information in your hand and the background and why we do this, so you can speak to individuals, which I think that is probably the best way to do almost anything, is talk to people that you know and get their support. But, all right. Were there any comments regarding what my little intro to this meeting? Was there anyone that need to respond to anything? Or are you okay with? I saw some motion, so I wanted to know, make sure there was nothing else. Everybody's fine?
No, that was very good.
Okay. All right. I think we are at the, anything else, Marcia, that we need to talk about? I think we.
That's fine.
I feel we've done an excellent job on this, and I think we have just thought about just about everything that can occur, and I think we have crystallized what we believe, and I think now we just have to share what we believe and think good thoughts, because this is a very good project. I wanted to put some agenda items on for the June meeting. Hopefully they'll be after the May meeting, and I will look forward to that. But I would like to at least get these 3 things on the table for the meeting. Update we've been talking about this charge, updating the Affordable Housing Committee charge. It's really important in terms of the fact that we've been trying to do this ever since they created the Affordable Housing Trust, and we haven't done it. And I think it's high time we do it. I don't think it'll be that difficult. I will send out information prior to the meeting with some suggested ideas for discussion, so we can frame our discussion. And I'm hoping maybe we can just get it done, because we put it off for quite a while. The second thing I wanted to work on a little bit was a suggestion that was made at the last Affordable Housing Trust Board meeting about updating the data for our community housing community study. They brought up this topic, but I think we need, as our group, we need to also look at this and come up with suggestions and goals for what would be in a new study. We don't just need new numbers. Our study right now is current enough that it's dealing with the situation at hand, and we are dealing with handling those goals. If we want data for the future, then I think we need to set some parameters and some goals, and also see it in terms of the bigger picture, which is happening in our town, which is economic development and planning for the town. So how would the information that we got from the housing study also complement that information and where we're going for the future? So I think we should at least get some ideas on the table for that. And then maybe later we can work with the Affordable Housing Trust Board as they think about this idea as well. But I think it should be coming from this committee as well, because this is where it started. And the third thing is Fran has an idea that she read about that happened in Minnesota, which is called Not a Tear Down Campaign. So I asked her to wait till next month to talk about that, and I will send you information about that as well. And that's a pretty full agenda meeting, but if you have anything else you'd like to do at that time, any other comments? I think that will give us closure on a lot of things we've talked about this year in terms of completing tasks, and I think we'll feel like we've come to a good point at the end of June. Anything else? All right, in approval of the minutes from April 6th. Have a motion. motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Shelley, second?
Everybody's muted.
I chaired the meeting, so
Raise your hand or
can I
something.
second it?
You can stand, you should look most closely because you were in charge of that one. Okay, any discussion? I did note again that Marcia's name got spelled wrong throughout the thing again, even though it was right in the beginning. We'll try to fix that. So with that one correction, let's, let me take a vote, please, by roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Shelley,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Nancy Wren, aye. Okay, 4-0-0. All right. And I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting is Tuesday, June 1st, 2021.
So move to adjourn.
Bill? Second?
Second?
Okay, people today, thank you. Shelley? All in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Shelley, aye.
Aye.
Nancy James?
Aye.
Nancy Wren? Aye. 4-0-0. I thank you all for everything you've been doing this past month and keep up the good work. All right,
You.
Thank you, Nancy.
good night.
Thanks, Nancy.